Hello everybody, how's it going? Like Butter here. Welcome back to another Division video. Today we're going to be doing some Last Stand PvP. Now this portion of the PTS was just unlocked earlier today, and a lot of people were playing it. I was playing it myself for a good amount of time, and I wanted to give my opinions about some of the changes that they made in PTS 2, which is the second week of the PTS. Good things, some questionable, and we'll talk about the overall feel of the Last Stand game mode. So I talked about my thoughts and concerns about the game mode previously, but just to kind of brush up on that, I think that the game mode is a super good start in the correct direction. I think it has some minor things that seem to be a bit weird. I think you might get a little bit, too many points from just getting like a point boost and then clearing out a bunch of NPCs. Sometimes it feels like my team will have control of A and B, but we won't win. And I think that's because of the point boost and the way those things work. So maybe like super minor tweaks to that. But overall, the game does what it's supposed to do. The point of this game mode is to give PvP players like myself a chance to PvP in a arena-like style and to kind of just, go at it. Try different builds, try different weapons. It's kind of the PvP arena that we all really wanted. I think it's really good, and I think it's going to be a huge step in the right direction for Division PvP, because it's kind of funny, if you watch the direction that the Division went, the PvE side of things got so much when it came to DLC and special patches and stuff like that, that the PvP side has always been a bit neglected in the Division. And to see a patch specifically done for PvP and to have a game mode where we can play dedicated PvP against another team with the same amount of players is pretty awesome, and I think you guys are really gonna like it. This game here, spoiler alert, I don't end up winning, but I do have probably my highest score ever. I'll show you guys at the end of this video. But there's been some major changes actually made from the first week of the PTS to this week of the PTS that I actually didn't get to try in when I went out to North Carolina to test the game. And one of those things is the not being able to sprint while reloading. I want to give my opinions on that, and also the drastically increased recoil when it comes to hip firing. The hip firing is almost impossible now. You can still do it in a sense if you're super close, but you're not really seeing the 5-meter circle strafe fights anymore, which I think obviously that's good. It's not very interesting gameplay when you see everybody kind of running around. Now it feels a lot more tactical. Everyone's using cover, everyone's aiming. You got to pick your fights without being able to sprint while reloading. You got to get behind cover when you do reload. Reload speed is actually something worth putting stuff into now, like putting points into. I have reload speed on my holster, and I also have reload speed on one of my talents. I have Swift on this gun, and I think it's really good. It's really good to be able to get that fast reload, but basically what it does is it makes it so that when people are reloading their weapon, they're not spam strafing. That happens a lot in the Division when people will basically run around, hip fire, and then when they're reloading, they'll just strafe back and forth. And it makes the gameplay a little bit too fast-paced in a way, and a little bit too random. And I think the way they slowed down the game a lot is really going to be good for the game. At first, I absolutely despised it. At first, I was like, why am I not running while reloading? I hate this. This feels like the whole flow of the game is off. But after a couple matches, you do start to get used to it, and you do start to realize that the game is better off this way. It really is. And I know at first it's gonna feel weird. It's gonna be hard to get used to, but that's because players like me, I have 1,200 hours in this game, something around that. And after playing this game for 1,200 hours, a major mechanic change like that can feel a bit clunky at first, but I think I'm starting to get used to it. The only thing I'm not too worried about is how it's going to work out in the Dark Zone, but in the PvP mode, it seems to have been working great. So maybe if you guys have played the Dark Zone, like how is it? Is it like difficult? I feel like it's going to be a lot harder for rogues to get away, which I know it's annoying when people do the whole rogue marathon thing where they just run away and there's like, you know, like you guys have to chase them all the time. Maybe this will give people incentive to stay and fight, but I really think that the rogue mechanic needs to be looked at and eventually changed, hopefully, in the future. So that we'll leave that for another video. But I want to say that Red Storm did a absolutely fantastic job on the Last Stand game mode. I have one minor complaint. And I made this very, very vocal at the ETF. I absolutely hate the Dark Zone 1 through 3 map. I despise it. Now, the thing that sucks is because the gunfights in the sports store are really epic. Like, it's multiple levels, and it's a very cool, like, arena feel building that you get really good gunfights. But I absolutely, like, if you look at the design of DZ 1 through 3, they're the 3 largest, the 3 emptiest, most boring dark zones in the entire game. And to have them all in one map is just so saddening. But I understand, like, it's already done. They just probably didn't have time to make tweaks. I really wanted them to move C and A closer to the sports store so that we could have that kind of combat PvP feeling in that area. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they'll make some changes to spawns and whatnot. But it feels like there is way too much running on those portions of the map. Like, even if they just cut it down to, like, DZ 1 and 2 only, but I don't think they'll have time to do that. But I just despise that map. And let me know what you guys think, too. Do you guys like that map? Because I've heard different opinions. Like, some people seem to like it. I personally don't, because when I come to, when I come to play Last Stand, I want to have a huge clusterfuck of PvP. That's what I want. I want this to be that PvP close quarters arena game mode that I think a lot of us wanted, and this just isn't that. But on the Dark Zone, like in this map you're watching here on screen, it's Dark Zone 8 and 9. Or 7 and 8, 8 or 9, one of those, and it is amazing. It's so close quarters. You can tell the zones were specifically built to feel like a PvP arena, and it's great. It's awesome, but I just despise the Dark Zone 1 through 3 map. But other than that, it's great. I'm getting used to the reload speed thing, and also the really, really bad hip fire. But I think this is going to be a game mode that PvP players are really going to be able to test out your builds. They're also trying out the normalization, which I kind of like, sort of. I don't know the way that they're doing it. The original thought was to make all the stats kind of similar in a way and have like 4 different types of builds. There was like balance build, DPS build, skill power build, and tank build. And they would kind of assume, depending on your stamina and electronics and all that stuff, what type of build you were, and then kind of set you to those stats. And then they would basically cut your major and minor stats to a 1/10 of what they actually are. Now, I'm not too sure if that's the way they did this one or if it was like my idea. What my idea was to give everyone a set amount of stats no matter what piece you had. Because currently, even with the normalization, one person that has better gear than another person is still going to have that little tiny bit of an advantage. It's going to be a very small bit of an advantage. But if you gave everyone God roll everything, I think it would make it so that build diversity stays the same. And also, like, you can make builds in certain ways. But right now, how it works is, like, if you're stacking a lot of I don't know, like skill power on your gear, or like, I don't know, it's very strange to think about, you know, your major and minor stats only affecting your gameplay by a 1/10 of what you actually have on your gear. It almost feels like the build is kind of stripped from you, so we'll see about that. But overall, the time to kill felt really good. Like, it seemed like, you know, everyone can kill everyone type of thing, and, you know, it doesn't feel very far off. So I personally think that normalization is the way to go. Maybe they could, like, kind of bring it up to maybe like half your stats or something like that. I get what they're doing. They're trying to make it so that if somebody goes into the Last Stand DLC with a complete Frankenstein build, had no idea what's good on what piece of gear, that they can still go into the game mode and compete. And I understand that, and I think that's good. But I also think that the whole normalization thing needs to stay in this game mode and not be brought anywhere else. Because I saw some people saying like, oh, there should be normalization in the dark zone, and I just really don't think that's true. I think the dark zone should be that cut through area that people can go to with, you know, their builds that they worked on, you know, all the time. The same thing with the PvE area being that, like, you know, the gear that you worked for. So we'll have to see how it goes, but I really think the time to kill was pretty decent. It didn't feel like too fast or too slow. But I want to test some other builds. I'm using alpha in this build, which seemed to work pretty good. Some small things need to be looked at, like skill power on the smart cover. I had a player today put smart cover down and then sit on the cover with the historian, and it was like 1.3 all over again. Like, he was stationary, I was hitting him with an entire mag, but he wasn't taking damage, and he literally like 3-shotted me. It kind of reminded me of 1.3 when people would sit on cover with Deadeye and just spam. And I'm assuming that's because the you know, the historian does damage depending on your skill power, and you're also going to get more resistance on smart cover with your skill power as well. So I'm assuming he just had like an entire skill power build, maybe like tactician or something, and literally just sat on the cover and just was blasting people. But we'll see if there's small things that can. I think it has something to do with the fact that skill power has no like diminishing returns anymore. It starts at a lower amount, which means you have to kind of spec more into it to get more value out of it, but still some of these things might need to be tweaked. But overall, it was really fun. The PTS has been super unstable. I think I got delted like 10 times today. So, I mean, it is a PTS and it's understandable, but it's been frustrating because it's usually happening at like the end of a match. But anyways, I just want to give you guys like kind of my first impressions about the Last Stand game mode, even though I already played it. It has changed quite a bit. Like, the flow of the game is completely different with not being able to sprint while you're reloading and stuff. And let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of those changes. Do you hate it? Do you like it? And if you don't like it, what do you think they could do to kind of slow down the gameplay and keep it so that everyone's not just running in circles, hip fire, or strafing? I think these changes here that they made are a huge step in the right direction for slowing up the gameplay, making cover be actually, you know, more viable, and making tactics and you know, the flow of the game depend on the decisions you make and how well you shoot, not so much how much you strafe and how much you hip fire spam. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna put it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to drop the video a like if you enjoyed, and I will talk to you next time. Take care, everybody.